Previously in episode 2.
When we bought the building, the reserve, we had two choices. One choice would have been to try and stay where we are right now. So it made sense for us to look at the possibility of moving into one of the floors of the new building.
Our plan was to complete the move within 5 days.
Gold was quite easy to transport, but moving almost 400 tons of silver, that was really the bigger challenge. We pulled it all off very smoothly, I think. So after we finished moving these 450 tons of silver and gold, and they were safely stored, we needed to make some very clear plans on how we're going to transform this facility into what it would eventually be. And the next step was to try and find the right architectural company and the right construction companies to actually transform the building what we wanted it to be. So as we started engaging different architectural companies, it became more and more apparent that the project would really be a matter of years. We talked with a number of different architectural companies. We got different bids, we got different designs. So as we were going through this process, my wife said, hey, actually, my cousin is an architect. Maybe we should contact him and see whether he can explain some of the regulatory details of doing such a renovation. And that's how we ended up meeting Wesley.
Hi, my name is Wesley.
And I'm Jessica. We are both the co-founder of Monarch Studio, partner in life, at work and private life, married for a couple of years.
We are the design architect for the reserve. I received a message on Facebook. Michelle was actually texting us and was like telling me that her husband, who is Gregor, just bought a building and is looking for an architect to come up with a design for an iconic vault. And then I was like, okay, that's cool. And she's like, oh, but will you be interested to at least be the architect for this project? And then I was like, well, I mean, we can talk a little bit more because I'm not pretty clear on what's this whole thing all about. Then I said, oh yeah, Gregor would contact you. Then that's where I received a call from Gregor to actually meet up for dinner.
So we had dinner together, and as we talked, he provided much more details, much more insights on the regulatory requirements in Singapore on doing such a renovation.
I was just thinking, what's this meeting all about? Is it more like to understand how to go about building a vault, or trying to tap on certain experience I have, or are they actually interviewing me to potentially be the architect for the project or the design architect for the project? The conversation went on, and I can sense that they're trying to see if I have that knowledge, that capability to take on the project. And I sort of felt like, well, I mean, I think this is not so much of advising them on how to go through this whole process, and it feels like they're actually looking for somebody to design for them.
And we then realized, as he showed us some of his projects, that he was a very, very accomplished architect.
Prior to working on the reserve, I was working with SCD Architects, a reputable architecture firm that does high-end and luxurious projects. In my stint with SCDA, I have done residential buildings, condominiums, hospitality projects like hotels, skyscrapers, and institutional buildings. And they are all located both locally and globally. Countries like in US, Shanghai, and more also the region that's immediate to us, which is Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Philippines.
Prior to the reserve, I worked 2 years in France after graduation. Then I moved to Shanghai. I joined SCDA Shanghai for 3 years.
Speak any Mandarin?
一点点不忘了 Then I transferred to Singapore. That's when we met. Stayed another 5 years in the firm. So during these 8 years, I was mainly involved in all the main developments for villas. And then I joined the hospitality group, working with big brands like Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, JW Marriott's, before I went out and go in this adventure with Wesley.
We brought Wesley and his wife, who is also an architect who does most of the four-season hotels in Asia, actually, to the safe house. We gave them the tours that we would normally give to potential clients. He got to understand the role of precious metals. He got to see how we test. He got to really understand why precious metals make sense in a world where debt is becoming more and more.
We were there together, right, in the safe house. We were invited, and I think that's where they're trying to show us, their business and what is it like as a vault storage for precious metal. And when we were there, it was a little bit surreal. I mean, private company or private entity dealing with industrial grade bullions or gold bars or silver bars, and I guess we were quite impressed by the space.
Yeah, we didn't think that there's such facilities in Singapore. You see in the movies, you see the vault and all this. Then you see this, the reality is like, wow.
Yeah, so yeah, it's this surreality that we just a bit flabbergasted and hard to believe that the reserve is an amplified version of the safe house that we're in.
We explained to him what we were doing, and he basically said, give me some time and let me come back to you. And it was about 3-4 weeks later, said he presented a design concept, and he basically told us, if you let me do this project, I will quit my job, I will create a new architectural company, and I will put all my efforts into building this.
We had in mind that we wanted to create our own company for some times. Then when we heard about the reserve and we met Gregor, we thought that's it. That's the chance for us to go and be on our own, and with a project that is amazing. As a young architects, nobody gets this kind of project. And even in the architecture world, to get this kind of project is very interesting, and everybody wants to buy it, everybody wants to be part of it. And we are like privileged because we are young and Gregor trusts us. Gregor sees the value in us, that's something that we can bring to him. And it's just like, wow, like at that time it was like very, very overwhelming. We went home and was like, what's happening to us? Like, okay, are we doing this?
Well, there's actually a big race on two parties, I guess. One on Gregor's side and one on our side too, right? Him approaching somebody who has yet set up shop, right? And being so young with no employees, would he be capable of embarking on this journey with me to build such a massive project? And on our side, it's like we're comfortable where we are in our previous office, and we're thinking like having worked 10 years, a decade is difficult. It's hard to come by for many others working in their company. To take that step out in the unknown is pretty scary. So it's a huge risk on him and a huge risk on us. And I guess we all both decided to take that leap, and that was where it all started.
Yeah, trusted each other.
What impressed me of Wesley is that he was not afraid of bringing bad news. He made it clear that the construction process in Singapore has long timelines due to governmental regulations. You had to go through 10 or 11 different governmental agencies to get permits and so on. So this was not going to be a simple renovation.
I think our main role in this project also was to guide him with the reality of architecture and all the implication that will come through the process of building the reserve, because he came and said, I want this to be built in 6 months. We said, this is impossible. Sorry, this is the reality, but this is impossible. Just authority matters. It will take more than 6 months. So yeah, different perspective, like different mixed feelings, like, wow, he wants this in 6 months. It was a bit scary, but in the same time, he was so excited about this project that he got us so excited about it that we really wanted to do it also. I think Gregor is a visionary. So I feel he always thinks beyond what's in front of him. And I think he's
inspiring.
Very inspiring.
And very deterministic. And what is interesting about him is that he sees opportunities and possibilities that not many people could see. And with the vision that he set out about building the reserve, it sort of got us very intrigued and wanting to know more and to be part of his team. And that's how it all started.
The brief we gave Wesley was to build something that felt solid, to symbolize precious metals, and also will be intriguing, something which people would look at and have a desire to explore, to go in and to have an experience going in. So it was meant to be something that could become iconic, that people would see and remember. A shape which will just be memorable because it will be different from everything else out there.
It is not a typical brief that we will receive in any practice. We've done architecture for a decade and have never come across a brief like that. So his brief was really open. He basically gave me a narration of the global financial system from the 18th century to where we are today. And then I guess in 2008 there was this big financial meltdown, and that's where Silver Bullion was conceived. And then thereafter he was telling me, like, look, just build me a Noah's Ark to protect the wealth of individuals in another financial storm that he sees that would come sometime later. There's some certain keywords that he added to the project brief. Was that he wanted the building to be mysterious, transparent, and as well open, and rebellious, as well as being inclusive. So these words were actually the only brief that we had. So with a brief like this, we were like, whoa, what do we then do? Like nothing about what he wants.
It was actually quite funny at the end.
Yeah.
The end of the brief, okay guys, listen to this music, this is the project. Then we just listen to the music. That's it, that's the project. Wow, okay.
So it's part of Stella, an Austrian musician that actually fuses music from the 1920s with modern beats. And they said, look, I see affiliation with this music. I think this is also part of your brief. And we sort of like, oh wow, it's quite interesting, having some keywords, having some with the music playlist that he had. Then we were trying to see how do we actually draw inspiration through his given brief.
I think it was during the concept stage. We were the two of us, and actually we had a few friends helping us because it's a very big project. So we were just flashing ideas, exchanging everything, like what we have in mind, and we worked every day non-stop for a few weeks and trashing ideas. So
we started with a series of movies that's affiliated to the brief that Gregor set out, because he constantly mentioned about this retro and yet futuristic, and he's saying that he wants to see old and new fused together. So I know for architects and designers like us, we are more of a visual person. Like reading words just would help us get a picture of or an impression of what he's actually thinking of. We watched Dune, we watched Blade Runner, and The Matrix, and these are films actually he likes too. So, and then we try to then draw visual reference of all these scenes that they have in these movies, and we then tested ideas of architectural styles too. So we look at the brutalist architecture because it's sort of like referencing visuals in these series of movies that we watch. So in brutalist style, they are mostly concrete looking building. We also look into the neo-futurist architectural style, where architecture is some technological influence.
And the thing is, it's a vault. So it's the challenge. You need to look like it's a secured facility, and yet you have people working inside. So you cannot be a block of concrete, but you cannot be fully glassed. So where's the limit? Where do you find this fine line where you can match the two of them? So we worked very, very late every day. And I think this idea came like it was maybe 5 a.m. that, okay, I think we have the idea. Okay, let's try it out.
It took Wesley probably a month or so to come up with a design which it has now become. My understanding is that he worked after hours every night until very late, going through 50 different proposals until he came up with a design.
Not say exactly 50, I would say, but I mean, figuratively, yes. But I think we only got to present only one idea, just one, and you know, there's all this other ideas is all fluff, and we do not want to cloud his decision to choose a particular design. So a bit more dictative on what we think fits for the reserve. That's why we are like only showing one scheme.
And so when he came with this aha moment, created this design, and then presented the design to us, our reaction was, holy shit, that doesn't look like our building at all. Are you sure you can do this? And he said, yes. And so as we went into the details of it, you know, it started to make sense.
I think we came up with a very stunning image that sort of like, you know, shocked everyone in the room when we were presenting. And they didn't even think the building exists. They thought it was a different building that we are doing. So they thought it was like, are you sure this is the building that we bought? And it's like, yeah, it is.
I think he saw also the value in the design for what it will bring to the building itself. So just not being a simple building, but the quality of the design will really attract attention, which is very good for him also.
There was a lot of cleverness, a lot of interesting ways of working with the current structure of the building to transform it into what it was right then, which was a much more standard sort of industrial business park sort of building, into this onyx-clad, you know, world, which looks almost like a battleship of kinds, a rock solid sort of, and entities with this luminosity coming from the onyx facade.
We came across this material called onyx that has these particular properties that basically it looks like marble, it looks like stone, but the light can go through. So maybe we thought it's a good alternative. So you're still inside, but you won't have direct light, but you have some daylight still coming in. And in the nighttime, what was quite interesting is that we can glow and light up the building from the inside and have the light going out. So it's like a dual function, day and night, and the building will be different day and night.
It is something which, especially as you land in Singapore, we are close to the airport. So at night, once this building lights up, you'll be able to see it if you're sitting on the left side of the plane coming in.
Basically, when you're landing, you'll see this glowing building and it should attract your attention.
And I believe if that's the only building that's glowing, like in the whole industrial setting, I believe you definitely spot it.
It became clear to me at that point that this can become an icon which represents the resurgence of physical gold and silver as a mainstream investment item. Because it wasn't just a structural upgrade, it was going to be something symbolic. And hopefully get people interested enough to find out, why are people building such a thing to store metal? What's the reason behind it? Because all I need people to do is ask that question. Once they look into it, once they understand the reasons behind it, it becomes obvious.